Yeah, there's something about the evolutionary psychology of being breeding focused and then wanting to stop others from doing it. Um, Most of the lying, like Star Wars. George Lucas married a black woman. Good on him if he likes that. I think it's a funny he went to the dark side joke. But to me, especially knowing some people who are like the offspring of mixes, that's not always good. Like, okay, so my mom was a blonde, my dad had black hair. My mustache is blonde, my black hair is black. A lot of times internally, it feels like the parts don't talk to each other. And so there's a real strength in something that's been honed for many, many generations. And just shaking it up with adding it to something else, yeah, it kind of worked. That's why species that are very different can't breed at all. So definitely choosing to bridge that gap and breed like black and white or white and Asian and whatever, all of that. The mixing pot was a way to glue people together permanently. But as cool as that is, the dark side of it is the kids have to be the ones to. You will be disunified even inside, like oil and water. And yeah, no doubt. The top of my mustache is my mom's, and then the bottom dark and gray. You notice how I have less gray hair up top than I do down in my beard? Yeah, two different DNAs. And I get that internally too, where it's like I don't know if my parts all talk to each other. Um, and so, but there is something in people that's like extremely, extremely, extremely selfishly self oriented toward breeding. I can do it. It's different when I'm doing it. I'm allowed. You better stop. I don't want to see you doing it. I know what you were doing. That sort of thing. Like someone who's incredibly egoistic and always looking after their own breeding interests will become extremely shut down and derogatory and preventative of other people doing it. And it's an evolutionary psychology. The place you come from is people doing that. And the people that exist most prevalently are people who are selfish about doing that. It's okay when I breed. I'm allowed to. That's fine. You know, if someone else is doing it, stop. That's too much, right? So I, I think it's sad. It's sad that people are unaware they're that way. It's sad that people are that way on autopilot. You know, I definitely think Star Wars is an interesting foil for humans talking about what the universe is because Star Wars is imperfect. There's lines and directions drawn in Star Wars that aren't, you know, like they have force powers, but the lightsaber needs a battery, right? Um, it's okay to kill tons and tons of stormtroopers. There's just things in Star Wars that don't make any sense. The light and the dark side, like the evil's only wrath. Well, the evil would be to them and to the religious people who made it, the evil would be lust, right? Is I want more. I want to experience more, like how the dark side wants to live forever in their bodies. And the light side is content with becoming a force ghost. I'm just going to humbly get old and die, and my spirit will have an eternal life, right? Uh, so, difference between light and dark side. But is that ultimately true? Is that really how it is? The Jedi didn't have babies. The Jedi didn't. There were Jedi kids that they got from other places. Same thing with Warhammer 40K. Their space marines are sexually neutered. Space marines don't have sex. The new space marines come from common populations. Wouldn't it be better to have the space marine reproduce so you'd have another space marine, right? But they don't do that. They use like gene seeding, which is where they take a common person and they overwrite on him some pattern that's like a space marine instead of just giving birth to one. So yeah, Humans are duplicitous in this sense, and this is like an evolutionary statement that you could say. They're always looking out for their own reproduction. If they give a pass to when they want to do it, and they're always looking out to stop others, rivals and whoever, right? And they're willing to lie and manipulate and use about that, right? So they're willing to lie to do it, and they're willing to lie to stop others from doing it. And they will do both at once. They will think that it's okay if I do it. I'm just going to breed and reproduce. That's okay, but you should knock it off. It's been too much, right? I don't think that they're really honest. So, yeah, definitely circumcision is kind of a mortal, fatal blow. Your shit's not going to work right and hurt. And that is pretty deep. It's hard to overcome that. It is. Um, definitely leaving those parts on them will make their sex organs work better. Um, but yeah, just like the way people are wired from the inside is manipulated toward breeding. Breeding over brain, breeding over all other needs, just to get that breeding on, and it's like people have pointed out stupid. Like, you should really watch how other mammals reproduce, and it'll like really quiet you up. It'll make you really more reticent to give into it because it just looks bad. It's like gross. So, yeah. It's just interesting that space marines are neutered sexually. They don't have reproductive instincts. And it's the villain in the series. It's basically space Catholics. But they still want more space marines. So they just take them from the ordinary population and force people who've never been space marines to be one. It'd be better to breed a genetic line of space marines and have the space marines actually breed. Right? And the same thing with Star Wars. Love is forbidden to the Jedi's, meaning reproduction. And which is such an interesting philosophy. So where do more Jedi come from? They take them from the ordinary populace when they're young, right? And they show signs of being a Jedi. But it's not like Yoda's going out there making kids. Mace Windu's not going out there. That's forbidden by the Jedi Code. You don't do that. So how is that sustainable, and how is that life integrative? How is it life integrative to forbid reproduction? This dog yelping is probably neutered and probably cut his stuff off. So yeah, these are people who knife genitals. And so their major stories, Star Wars and Warhammer 40k, are about people with knifed genitals, right? The dark side when Anakin just went ahead and reproduced. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, definitely evolutionary psychology leads toward the attitude of I'm gonna do it, you better not. I don't want to see someone who's going to criticize someone for breeding and think the worst of them is going to secretly do it on the side. Now, I do have to reveal that I am not that way. I literally have not bred. If I have any kids out there, they are shower babies. Not intentional, and sad that would happen. I hope the answer is you have none. Then I'd be like, yeah, right. But I definitely, it bothers me when other people do it. Like, oh, look, you two thought you were really worth another go. I do think that when I see people who are reproducing, unless they're the absolute winners, I'm like, uh-oh, someone didn't get a clue. So, yeah. But people are like rigged, like Abel or whoever, they're rigged to be one way. My, not yours, mine, right? And that's from evolution.